What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be doing something special. I'm going to be talking about a recent seasonal anime. It's not something I do very often. I'd like to be able to do it more on this channel, but the way that I usually watch anime kind of doesn't, follow that guideline. I don't like marathoning shows, and I don't like watching stuff week to week very often. I know I'm trying to get better at that, but I'd rather watch anime in like 3, 4, 5 episode chunks. So seasonal stuff, isn't really my thing, but I've tried to make it a goal to at least check out one new show every season. And so far, I am 0 for 2 in the last 2 seasons because 2 seasons ago now, I picked Handshakers with my pick in the draft, and we all know how that went. I couldn't even finish the series. It was one of the worst anime I've ever seen. And this season, the show we're going to talk about today is the one that I picked from the lineup, and I kind of wish I didn't, because today we're going to talk about Vatican Miracle Examiner. Now, this is a show from JC Staff. It's only 12 episodes long. It just finished a couple weeks ago. And what kind of hooked me on this was the premise. So it's about these two priests who work for the Vatican, Hiraga, who's Japanese, and Roberto, who I believe is Italian. And they both speak Japanese all the time, but don't question it. And they work for the Vatican, and everybody at the Vatican speaks Japanese, apparently, but don't question that either. But yeah, so these two priest guys work for the Vatican, and their job is to be investigators for so-called miracles that are reported around the globe. And they kind of get sent like all over the world to investigate these miracles and sort of debunk them, which I found kind of interesting considering that they were priests, and the show did play into this a little bit, whereas they kind of really wish that they could find a real miracle. Like, they'd be super stoked if they could, but their job is to kind of debunk them and show them that it's all kind of a bunch of bull. And as a fairly religious person, as I talked about in the past, I thought this idea was going to be really interesting for a show. Boy, was I wrong, because it took me a while to watch these 12 episodes, because I tried to watch them in bursts, and it was just really hard. There were some nights, guys, I was planning on watching 3 or 4 episodes, and I watched 1. So, let's get into what I thought was good about the show. I don't have a lot written down here in terms of positives. The show has almost interesting characters, as I mentioned. It's got, the two priests, Hiraga and Roberto, who they sort of hint to having like tragic pasts. I mean, they delve into it a little more as the series progresses, but not nearly enough. They're like almost interesting, and I guess they're not really relatable, so it doesn't really like matter. And the other good thing that I liked was the series OP. The opening song is really cool. It gets you kind of hyped, and then you remember how boring and dull the show actually is. And, that's about it. It's not that great looking of an OP, but the song's pretty cool. And that's it. All I got for positives, really. I guess you can take this as a positive. At some times in the series, it is so bad, it's funny. If you're into like movies, like if you once in a while, I'll watch a movie like Wolf Cop or Rubber or Birdemic. If you're into stuff that like is so bad it's funny, like some of my other videos, but then you're gonna really like this show. Parts of it. Maybe I spoke too soon, I bet. You're gonna like the beginning of this. I'd recommend like the first couple episodes if you're that kind of person, but it is not worth sitting through 12 episodes of your time. Let's get to what I didn't like. The series does not have very good animation, and I know and this is on JC Staff entirely. So I know JC Staff, they've done a lot of good shows in the past. I believe they did Shauna, Sharugan no Shauna, and I believe they also did Toradora back in the day. So they are good. They are capable of doing good animation, and this series is just dull looking. It looks like it was made a couple years ago, and even when they try and put like cool effects on stuff, it just doesn't look good. It looks kind of like out of place. The character designs are boring. This is from a series of light novels, I believe, or novels. I know people might attack me in the comments if I call a novel a light novel. Please don't do that. It's from novels. It's not from manga, so I don't know how much illustration they actually had to work off of with the source material. But I feel like they probably had some liberty to go with here, and it's just lame. Like, one guy's got a monocle for some reason. They think that's a cool character design, and the other guy's just Japanese looking priest dude. And a lot of the other characters are these dudes that just look like girls. And I don't know why, but this show also has very high amounts of yaoi tropes. It doesn't actually go the full way here, but it's kind of like those like fan servicey shows where like girls will like rub up against the main characters. Ecchi. It's kind of like ecchi stuff, where like ecchi doesn't go like the full way that hentai would go, and you're kind of left sitting there like, why don't I just watch the full version? This is kind of just like yaoi-esque. It's yaoi light. Like they're not dudes making out or anything, but they come pretty close. And a lot of the dudes look like chicks. A lot of the dude characters are like in the OP or like hinted at, or like you see them. And I thought it was like a girl character the first time I saw it. And then we get their name very often. There are two. There's Julia, and who's this, if I can get my directions right, who's this like blonde dude in the middle of this picture. And Julia, that's a dude. And then all the way, and then just every dude in this, besides the two main characters, pretty much look like any dude that's of importance looks like a girl, and it's just very strange. So one's named Julia. There's another one named Lauren. Lauren is like their the priests have. This is so absurd. The priests have this like guy named Lauren, who is a prisoner who has access to like this computer, and he gives them a whole bunch of information. And he's like barely seen in the show, but they try and make it out so he's like way more important than he is. He is this guy in the blue hoodie up here. Doesn't really matter. But he barely matters in the show. But yeah, the character designs are lame. The backgrounds were lame. A lot of the visual effects they would put on are lame. There's a lot of Dutch angles here, which are really, really annoying. Like a repeated use of them. It's just, oh my god, it's just so lame to look at. And when a show's boring and it doesn't even like look good, that just hurts it even more. Another thing, the mysteries in the show are just bad. They're just like, they range from like really boring. So there's like three sort of like separate like arcs that this show has. It's like three different mysteries. And the first one's like the first 4 episodes, which is the only part of the show I would even slightly recommend, because the way episode 4 is ridiculous. I'll just leave it at that. In fact, just watch episode 4. You know what? Just watch it without any context or whatever, because the show doesn't explain itself very well either. It tries to keep you like shrouded in all this BS for like no reason, and then it just info dumps every like 3 or 4 episodes. So this show, you could probably just watch like 3 or 4 episodes of this show at most, and then you'll know just as much of the mysteries as I did. And it just got so annoying and so ridiculous. The first mystery is by far the most ridiculous. The other two are way boring in comparison. But they all just make no sense. And just by the end, you just don't care. You don't care about these characters. You don't care about what they're going through. You don't care about the antagonist and what they're doing. And it just doesn't matter anymore. You're just so bored. I just wanted this to end. The characters are lame and underdeveloped. So the 2 priest guys could have been really cool. But I mentioned that in my like positive notes here. But they get some development, but by the time it happens, it's like way too late. They allude to Hiraga having like this tragic past with his like he has a sickly brother, and then the other guy, Roberto, you find out something tragic about his father in the past. But it doesn't really like matter in the eyes of like these ridiculous mysteries that are going on. It's just something to try and get you like attached to the 2 priests here who are on the verge of making out with one another. And it's just weird. And I really hated the characters in the show, and I wanted to like the show. I really did. but it's one of the more disappointing shows that I've seen in a long time. Um, like I said, it's one of those so bad it's funny kind of shows, but that's only for part of it. I can't really see too many people really enjoying this show. Even like mystery people, I feel like there's a lot better. There's like 800 or something episodes of Case Closed. If you like mystery, go watch Case Closed or go watch Go Sick or something. It's much better than anything you're gonna get here. The main characters aren't developed. The side characters aren't very developed. So the dude Lauren, the computer wizard guy who's a prisoner, who they talk to once in a blue moon, and he honestly doesn't give them great information anyway. He is a devout like atheist, and part of the show was Hiraga was going to convert him into believing in God and so forth, which I thought was going to be really interesting. And that happens like we were introduced to Lauren like pretty early on in the show, right? So I thought, all right, maybe the show is going to develop this relationship, and they have this really cool conversation in like episode 2 or something, about how Hiraga sees how like God works and stuff like that, and you see it kind of leaves an impression on Lauren, but not a whole lot, and then this just never happens again. It's just done. And I know there's probably more novels to this than the series really covered, but why even like introduce it at that point? Why not just skip that part if you know the series is only going to be 12 episodes, or do that in like a second season if it was successful? I just don't get why you got to like start a pseudo side story and then just not execute on it. Why you gotta like pretend to develop a character? It's just, oh my god, I'm so tired of this show. I really really don't recommend the show. If you guys liked Vatican Miracle Examiner for any other reason than it's so bad it's good, please let me know down below. I'm gonna link my blog post about this. It's a little more detailed. I try to avoid spoilers still. But if you're one of those people, like I said, that likes it so bad, that likes things that are so bad that they're funny, maybe you just watch like episode 4 or something, but probably not. It's really not worth your time. There's other good anime that you can watch out there. Yeah, don't watch Vatican Mirror Examiner. It's pretty bad. Guys, if you like what I'm doing here, please sub down below. I do reviews, I do unboxings, I do anime discussions, a whole bunch of other stuff. As always, guys, this is Miasma from Gyre Media, signing out.